Okay, awesome. So, today we're going to talk about. It's rolling? Okay, amazing. So, today we're going to talk about the metrics. This is like the big topics. Herd mentality and.
Herd?
Herd. Yeah.
Herd.
No. Herd.
Zranione części.
Herd,
herd.
like herd. No. Herd, like the herd of sheep, for example.
Or herd.
Yeah, like group mentality.
Okay, I understand herd mentality.
Herd. Okay.
Yeah, like that. And also we're gonna talk about the collective shadow.
Mm-hmm.
Just to be a continuation and to finish this topic with the shadow. So let's talk first about what do I mean by collective. So we are humans and we are just one individual. However, when I'm referring to collective, I'm referring to the collective humanity. So the entire population of humanity creates the collective humanity. It's like a bigger entity. Make sense?
Wait, I think can you repeat? Yes.
Yeah. So you have humans, you have like one individual,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have the entire human population that creates the human collective.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's like imagine like a blob of like everyone together.
Mm-hmm.
So you have your energy, and then you have the general energy of the collective,
Mm-hmm.
which is a mix of everybody else's energy, like a big soup. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So the same way that we ourselves have parts of us that are in the shadow that we do not see, these parts, they also evolve they also represent or express themselves on a collective level. So as we have shadows or a shadow part as one individual, as a human, also the entire humanity has shadow parts.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to talk more about this a bit later on. But just for you to get the idea that now we're going from the individual, we're going to the collective, to the human society.
Mm-hmm.
Just to get a bigger perspective how the role of the shadow plays on a bigger scale. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but before that, I want to talk about the matrix. So what is the matrix? Have you heard about the movie?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the movie is actually a documentary, because once I explain what the matrix is, you can go watch it again, and then you'll understand the message behind the movie. Because basically the entire movie is just an example of what is happening now here in our world and with many of us. So basically what the matrix is basically a simulated reality. Or how I would say it, it's a bubble of perception. Oh, before this, I forgot it. I always forget it. If before I said, don't believe everything I said, with this topic, it's even more. Because this topic will be probably very triggering and very, let's say, wait, I'm losing the word. Okay, very triggering. So don't believe everything I say. It's just a perspective, and then we can talk later about it, and I don't know, approve it or deny it or whatever. So the matrix is basically a bubble of perception, and this perception it's usually limited perception, and this is usually the bubble that is created by our surrounding and by the programs that we were taught in our childhood. And basically, it's imagine like the matrix. One version of it is you're born, you go to school, you go to college, you get a job, you get a house, you get married, and you die. What is that? That's basically a reality, a very limited reality, that it is in a way imposed on you. So it's basically a reality that is simulated. Is that the real reality, or is it just one version of it?
No one version.
Yeah, so it's one version. but in a way people believe that this is what life is, right? So in a way, if people believe that that is right, that is a simulated reality. And what happens is, the more you expand your consciousness, you start to see outside. You start to go outside of this bubble, of this limitation, and then see that, oh, actually, I can be a freelancer. Actually, I can do this. Actually, I cannot get married and enjoy my life. So you start to see many, many other possibilities, right? And this expansion of consciousness, this expansion of perception, goes to infinity. So it can go more and more and more. Another limitation that we are born with, not born, but like we're programmed into, is this limitation or this matrix that we are just humans. So you're just humans and physical beings, and you have no power, you have no, this is called intuition or this woo-woo stuff, and that's all. And then what we learn, especially talking about this domain, about spirituality in general, is you start to go outside of this bubble of perception and realize, oh, actually I have power. Actually I have emotions, thoughts, shadow parts, I can create my reality, I can follow my intuition, and many, many more. Make sense? So basically by you expanding your perception and start to see more, you're basically escaping the simulated reality that was built by society. Does it make sense? And the thing is, because we see the same things that everybody else is doing, that we hear everybody else talking about, we believe that this is reality. And then we get so used to this small bubble that when somebody else comes and they tell you, oh wait, there is something more, you're like, no, I cannot see anything more, so it doesn't exist. But then, through certain practices, certain experience, you start going outside of the bubble, and then you realize, wait a minute, there is more. And this is how the spiritual journey actually is. You just go expand more and more experience, more and more stuff are available for you and in your reality. Make sense? So yeah, this is basically the matrix. The matrix is basically a simulated reality, a bubble of perception that we are stuck in, and we believe that this is the only reality. This is the only thing that is possible. And then, as we grow within awareness and in spirituality, we start to get out of it and realize, oh, actually there is more. Till we get to the infinite reality and to enlightenment. When you get to enlightenment, you understand there is no more bubble. It's like you see everything. That's basically what happens. Now, another thing with this matrix reality is we have within us, we have programmed this herd mentality, or to go with the majority of people, and this is just a survival instinct. Because if you are in a tribe of people and you are too different, or too different, there may be chances that the tribe will throw you away, and then if you're alone, you'll probably die. So what you do, you try to do anything you can to bend in and to be accepted by the tribe. In our case, in a modern day, that's not the case. You can be by yourself and you can be completely fine. To have like a different opinion. However, I just want to share this perspective or this awareness of these limitations that we have. When I say limitations, these programs to go with the majority of people. So if the majority of people is going in a direction, we have a tendency to go with them, even if they're maybe not right, which is maybe the case in this era. Who knows? So then what happens? There was many studies done to show this nature within us. So for example, there was a social experiment in a waiting room. There was one subject, and all of them were paid actors. So what they did, the lady, she waited in the waiting room. Everybody was sitting down, and then everybody stood up. And the lady didn't understand what was happening. And what happened later on is then she stood up, just because everybody else was doing it. So this is like the basic program that we have within us, to follow what everybody else is doing. Another experiment that was done is we had a subject with other people, paid actors in the room. And what they did is they painted two lines. Line number 1 was bigger, and line number 2 was smaller. And what happened is the people in the room, I think you know it, the people in the room said that line number 2, because they were asked, okay, which line is bigger? And everybody said, from the paid actors, that line number 2, which is the smaller one, was the biggest. And they continued to enforce this until that person said, okay, line number 2 is bigger. So what happened is, because of the social pressure, he got persuaded to believe that the line number 2 is actually bigger. So what happened, because of the social pressure, he changed the objective reality. Make sense? So this is the limit. This is, in a way, the programs that we have within us to follow what everybody else is doing.
Very sad one.
Sorry?
Very sad one.
I know. It actually helped us before, but now it actually doesn't help us that much. It's like we need to become more and more independent and to do what is in alignment with us, to follow basically our intuition. Now, since these programs are archaic programs, which I mean they're very like deep within us, in our subconscious mind, is it possible to change them? Kind of hard. Throughout the process, many years, I think it's possible. However, what you can do, you can become aware of them. You can become aware when you have the tendency to follow the herd or follow the general mass of people, and then when you catch yourself, you're like, oh, wait a moment, I'm following the herd. Is it good or is it not? And then you can decide. So through awareness, you can catch these behaviors and then do what you want to do, what is in your benefit. Does it make sense? So yeah, just to be aware of this part of us that reacts to many groups of people. And this is how, I don't know, maybe we get persuaded to doing something that we don't want to do. Because everybody else is doing it, then they shame you, guilt you, blah, 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 and then you're like, okay, maybe I should do it also. And maybe your intuition says that you don't want to do it. So that's why it's important for us to become aware of this aspect within us, and then to choose, despite all of the pressure from society, despite all this peer pressure, to choose what is the best for us. Does it make sense? And what happens when you do that? You literally escape the matrix, escape the simulated reality that everybody's playing in, and you're like, no, I don't want to play in this reality. And then you do, and you choose what is best for you. Does it make sense so far? Okay. And now let's go to the collective shadow, or how I like to call it, it's conspiracies. So this is just something that I realized by myself. That doesn't mean it's true. You can have your own perspective and opinion. I'm just going to share what I think it is. So basically, whenever, like back in the days when I tried to convince people, it's whenever I discuss with people about certain conspiracies or certain aspects of reality, we were arguing, blah, 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 discussing about these certain details, and then always at the end they would ask something like, okay, but if it was true, why would anybody do this? Why would anybody create this horrific plan to do something so terrible? And then what I realized is that if they're asking this question, they have not yet done enough inner work to find the shadow part within them, or to find the aspect within them that is evil enough to do it. To do that horrific stuff. To do that horrific stuff. And what do I mean by this is, there is a level of naivety and they in a way believe that oh, so something like this, something like that doesn't happen, or is not real. To have this level of evilness in the world, this like organized evil. Because why they think this? Because they haven't explored yet the deeper parts within their shadow, or the different aspects to believe that they could also do that level of evil. Does it make sense or not?
Mm-hmm.
So in a way, because we have this gap or this blindness, then we believe that this type of evil or this type of, like, let's say, groups and stuff do not exist, and evil, like organized evil, doesn't exist. In reality, they exist. They are within us, but because of the collective shadow, we tend to believe that they don't exist. And this is where the conspiracy domain lies. Because conspiracy is basically a group planning or conspiring to do something bad. That's what it is. And what I've seen through many discussions is people, they don't believe that this big organization would want to do them harm. And that's because they don't see this shadow part or the shadow aspect that is very dark, and it's also within them. And when you cannot see something within you, you cannot see it on the outside. I don't know if it makes sense. For me, it made sense. Yeah. Question.
So, okay, what's for me is not so sure, which maybe not so agreed. When I hear like about the conspiracy theories, and there are lots of them.
Mm-hmm.
My previous girlfriend had a lot of them also. Then, so what I agree that there are groups of people that they are doing like some evil, but in my opinion, mostly it's not in purpose. Like this is made by their unconscious. So so they're doing it, but for them they're doing something good. Like for example, let's not tell the people about, I don't know, some bacteria in the water, because let's don't make some, I don't know, revolution, blah blah blah. Let's make the people safe. Let's don't tell it.
Yeah.
For in their opinion, it is good. So and conspiracy theories says no, they do it in purpose. They gather together and they decided, let's make them harm and let's don't tell it. So and then intentionally, and I'm not so agreed with that. Like and then it's so many conspiracy theories like that. That on the other part of moon, they are even living some creatures, and governments didn't tell us that all governments knows about the spaceships. They are running away and like everybody, but they didn't tell us, so they know and we know. And this is the conspiracy theories I hear a lot, and I am just feeling like, fuck, this is also some attitude to hear everywhere that there are some conspiracies, people who want harm you. I know. Yeah. There are 3 banks, 3 families that that they have hands in the banks. Yeah. And this is like so. I think I don't know if you agree with that's like that. So there are also these kind of conspiracy theories.
Yeah, I know. I'm very aware of it. Yeah. So basically, what I'm saying is I do believe that there are certain groups that are doing intentionally, but also there are certain groups that are doing it unconsciously. So both exist for me. But yeah, this is also like why I wanted to talk about the shadow and group, because the same way that you are capable of doing something horrible to another person, that's your shadow part. And for me, I do believe that because this part exists within you, this aspect that is like that can do horrific stuff, then if it exists on the individual level, then it must exist also on the collective level. If we are aware of it or not, that's maybe another story. Okay, if it exists or not, that's another story. But from my perspective, I do believe that these organizations exist, Okay, you don't need to believe it. This is just my perspective. And I believe that this is a part of the shadow, of the collective shadow. In a way, because, again, people do not believe that somebody could do intentionally harm. And especially big groups. So this is what I believe that is part of the shadow of the collective. And in a way, everything bends together, because the more you see the shadow within you, the more you will see it outside of you. Because people, most of them, don't see it because they don't believe that anybody can do so much harm. And let me give you an example. Imagine somebody is in a relationship with a narcissist, and the narcissist has like manipulated that person in such a way that it's like that the narcissist is beating her, and then she's like, oh, she just like hits me because he loves me, you know. And that's like what happens is like that person doesn't see the evil within the relationship. So in a way, she's naive to what is happening to her, if it makes sense. Mm-hmm. You know, maybe later on, through suffering, she realizes, oh, okay, maybe this is not benefic. So this is like another, like this called Stockholm syndrome, mm-hmm. where you're in love with the person that torments you, or like does you harm. But again, I believe that this is also part of the shadow that we don't want to see, or we don't want to bring to the light because they're too painful. Or another way is, I kind of feel it, you know that when you invest too much energy and time into a reality or into a belief, that when somebody else comes and says like, oh, this is not actually true, you don't want to say that it's wrong because you invested too much time and energy in it. Mm-hmm. This is also another perspective that I believe that mm-hmm. That's why it's so hard to let go of certain concepts and certain ideas. You know, because like you invested so much time in them and then you're like, it's a bit different. So yeah, this is basically what I wanted also to talk. I know it's a bit like triggering, but I just wanted to put that out. That there is also a shadow level on the collective level. A shadow aspect on the collective level. It may be this or maybe not. We will see. So yeah, this is basically, it was a bit short, but this is what I wanted to say when it comes to the collective level, to the matrix, and to the herd mentality. You know, how we follow just the herd because we think that the more people there are, that they should know better. And what I want to say, the conclusion from all of this is that you should really like focus on yourself, really connect with yourself, connect with your intuition, and then instead of taking decisions based on peer pressure or what anybody else is doing, to consult with yourself and to take decisions for yourself in any situation. So this is my advice for you, to try to be as independent as possible, and then to do what you feel is right for you, despite whatever anybody else is telling you, the news, people, friends, or whatever. So yeah, basically this is like the message or the conclusion of it. Mm-hmm. And I think you can close it. How many minutes was it?